Good morning, rabbits. Good morning, moles, and welcome to your English learning for today. Today is Friday. It's our last day of remote learning today for this week, and I want to say a big congratulations and a well done to all of you for working so incredibly hard at home this week, taking it in your stride, and being super mature about the situation we're in. We were all ready to come to school on Tuesday. We all thought we would be in our classrooms learning with our teachers and with our friends, and that didn't happen. And within 24 hours, you all managed to get up, get straight onto Teams, and have a go at tackling your learning from home. And I'm super proud of you all, as is Mr. Clutterbuck. You've all done an incredibly good job this week, and we know that next week is going to feel so much easier now that we've already started it and had those few teething problems. So well done to you. Now let's move on and think about our English learning. Now, in English, before we left for Christmas, we started learning about instructions, and we're carrying on with that now at the beginning of the spring term. Yesterday, I asked you to have a look at the How to Wash a Woolly Mammoth text at home and try and follow those instructions. And one of the things I asked you to try and think about and remember are the four main parts that we have inside an instruction text. Now, I've put on here a picture of the text map that we made for how to wash a woolly mammoth. Now, this is the text map I made in my class in the rabbits room, but I know in the moles class yours looked very similar as me and Mr. Clutterbuck were teaching the same thing. So have a little look there and remind yourselves, can you remember any of the features that are in the instruction text? What are each of these parts that I've circled called? Pause the video and talk to an adult at home. Okay, so now let's have a look together. This first bit at the very top of our instruction text says how to wash a woolly mammoth. Can I ask you what that is called? What part of an instruction text is this? Well done if you said a title. Yes, there is always a title to begin our instruction text. Super important so we know what it is we're about to learn about, what we're about to read about. This is a challenging one. Can anyone remember what this is called? It says, does your woolly mammoth need a wash? That's right, well done if you said hook. This is the part of the text that entices the reader. It usually asks them a question and makes them want to read the instructions and keep going. The title makes people curious, but the hook makes them that little bit more interested. And then what is this final bit called? You've got it. That last bit would be our method, which I've got down here at the bottom. This is the step-by-step guide, the bit that tells you exactly what to do. You may have noticed, though, there is a part here that we haven't mentioned because it wasn't included in the instructions. A list of resources, those things we need. So yesterday, when I asked you to follow the instructions, you might have found it quite hard because they didn't tell you what you needed to use. You would have had to have read all of the instructions and try and find the things you needed before you could make a start. Not a really good start, is it? Now, I had a go at following these instructions yesterday, and I wasn't doing very well. And I sent it to some of my friends and said, can you have a go for me too? I don't know if I'm being silly. And I'm going to show you some of the things that happened yesterday. The commands in those sentences, in those instructions, were not very easy to follow. The first instruction said, fill the bathtub. Can you see what my friend did here? What did they fill the bathtub with? Baked beans! They didn't know what they needed to fill the bathtub with. I mean, they did follow the instruction. They have filled that bathtub. I don't think that's what they were supposed to do. Look what happened here, though. I think they've used the right thing. They definitely needed water, but they didn't stop filling the bathtub. Now it's all overflown and gone everywhere. I don't think that was the plan either. Our next instruction said add bubbles. Well, I like a lot of bubbles in my bath, but even I know that's far too many bubbles in that room. They've all gone everywhere. You're not going to be able to find the mammoth in there. And then the next instruction, not the last one, but another instruction said start scrubbing. Now, you and I know that when they said start scrubbing, they meant start scrubbing the mammoth. But my friend didn't know that, so she started scrubbing her own hands because she thought she had to wash herself. So these instructions really were not helpful at all. Did you have any problems following the instructions? Maybe you could pause the video and talk about those things now. So when we are writing instructions in our method, we always have command sentences, don't we? Now these command sentences begin with a verb, a doing verb, an action verb, like these words I've written here: collect, jump, clap, brush, run. They're all things we can do. And when these verbs are used at the very beginning of our sentence, we call them imperative verbs, because imperative means you must do it. There is no choice. Command sentences are being bossy, just like Little Miss Bossy. In our sentence here, fill the bathtub, our verb is at the beginning. So it is a bossy sentence. It is a command. It is telling us what to do. To remind yourself about commands, perhaps you could try and use some of my verbs I've written here and give your family members some bossy commands for them to follow. Pause the video and have a go at that now, saying some command sentences. Did you make your command sentences precise enough for them to follow them accurately, or did they make some silly mistakes too? Let's have a look a little bit more at today's learning. So our commands, when we are writing them, need to be very clear, but they also need to be accurate. And we had this success criteria in our classrooms for writing commands before we left for Christmas. We said that when we're writing commands and our method part of our instruction text, it's really helpful to have numbers or bullet points. We also said we must have imperative verbs. Now we've just reminded ourselves that those go where in the sentence? That's right, at the beginning of the sentence. That's what makes them so bossy. And then we also were talking about how we did need to have punctuation. We do need capital letters. We do need finger spaces and a full stop at the end. And I can hear some of you saying, don't forget we can have an exclamation mark too. You're right, sometimes in commands we do have exclamation marks to make those sentences really stand out when they're an important one. So, having a look at this success criteria and then a few of the instructions from the text which I have written here, could you try and see whether or not the author of How to Wash a Woolly Mammoth was successful at using these things in their command sentences? Pause the video whilst you do this. Let's have a look. Did they use numbers or bullet points? I can hear you all saying, yes, we can see we've got our first, our second and our third instruction really clearly and in order. Great job. Did they have imperative verbs? You think they did? Can you tell me some of the imperative verbs they used? Fantastic. In these ones, we can see they've used the imperative verb fill, and they've also used the same one in both of these, add. Fantastic. And lastly, did they have punctuation? Did they include all of those things in their sentences? I agree with you. They have a capital letter to begin, finger spaces between their words, and then a full stop at the end. They have written commands. They are clear, but I don't think they're very accurate. They were really tricky to follow. We weren't sure what we had to fill the bathtub with. We don't know where to put the bubbles or the mammoth. So we're going to start looking at some other things that we can add to instructions to make them even better. And these are the things we'll be using later on this week and then next week also. Now we've already looked at adverbs and we know these are words that can tell us how to do something. They usually end with the ly suffix that sounds like ly. They're words like gently, carefully, Quickly, can you think of some other adverbs? Fantastic. We can also use something called time adverbials. We're going to look at those next week. These are the words that tell you when to do something in the instruction text. And today, we're going to start looking at something called prepositions. I know that sounds like a scary word right now, but I promise you, once you know what I mean, it's easier than anything. Just like when we looked at expanded noun phrases, it sounds tricky to begin with, but once you know what to do, you're super confident. So let's have a look and move on. So we're going to be using prepositions to add these to our original instructions from How to Wash a Woolly Mammoth so they can be more specific. Now, prepositions are words that show a relationship between a noun, that's a person, a place or a thing in a sentence, to something else in the rest of the sentence. These words on my screen are some examples of prepositions. They act as a word that links an idea to the beginning of the sentence that you've started writing. Let's have a look on the next page so you can see how I've used some of these. We had at the beginning of our instruction text, the first instruction. Number 1, fill the bathtub. But as you saw earlier, we didn't know what we needed to use to fill that bathtub up. I wonder if you could have a talk at home and say how you would improve this sentence to make it more specific. What do I need to fill the bathtub with? Can you talk to your adult and say a new sentence that perhaps uses one of these prepositions to improve it? I'll give you a clue. I might use this one that's here on my screen. Pause the video and see if you can improve the sentence, fill the bathtub. Think you had some fantastic ideas. I also had a go at this challenge, and this is what I wrote. So instead of just saying fill the bathtub, I have said fill the bathtub with warm water. But then I remembered my other friend who overflowed her bathtub. So I also included some more information and used the preposition until. So I've said fill the bathtub with warm water until it is half full. I don't want them to fill it all the way to the top because I know that later when they put that mammoth in, the water's going to overflow and go everywhere again. So my instruction is much more specific and accurate than the one that we had originally. I wonder, can you help me improve this second instruction? It says, add bubbles, but I have some questions. Where am I getting my bubbles from? Also, where am I adding my bubbles? I wonder if you could have a go at writing down a better sentence that would help me to follow this instruction more clearly. Pause the video and have a go at that now. Hopefully you came up with some good ideas. Now, whilst you were doing that, I was also having a think about how I could improve this sentence. So, I was thinking that bubbles can come from many places, but I know when I have a bath, I use bubble bath to make my bubbles. So, I might say add, because I know I need my imperative verb first, bubble bath. Not just bubbles, because actually they might not know where to get the bubbles from. And then I have to think about where I am putting the bubble bath. Otherwise, it might end up all over the floor. Where is the bubble bath going, everyone? Of course, it's going into the bathtub with the warm water. Fantastic. So add the bubble bath into. This would be my preposition because I'm about to create a relationship between the bubble bath and the water. Add the bubble bath into the warm water. But I don't think that's going to make bubbles straight away. How can I make the bubbles appear? What can I do once I've added the bubble bath into the warm water? What a good idea! My mum used to do that for me. She would put her hand inside the water and swoosh it around until all the bubbles started to appear. I think I'm going to add that in. Add bubble bath into the warm water and mix it thoroughly. Miss Pope isn't very good at multitasking, writing and speaking at the same time, which the rabbits know very well. Add bubble bath into the warm water and mix it thoroughly with your hands, until bubbles appear. Let's have a look. Which sentence is more specific and helps you know what to do? Number 2, add bubbles. Or number 2, add bubble bath into the warm water and mix it thoroughly with your hands until bubbles appear. Which one do you prefer? Yes, I think that second one is much better. Thank you so much for your help. So your challenge today is going to be to rewrite the instructions for how to wash a woolly mammoth. And I would like you to try and add in some adverbs, if you can. Those are those things we spoke about before Christmas. I know I haven't really spoken about them today, but I have added some adverbs to your resources on Teams, so they're there if you would like to use them. And I wonder if you can try and add some prepositions in as well to add extra detail and make them more specific. Again, I've added those preposition words on there to help you extend your sentences. You can use the text map to help you remember all of the steps. I've also attached that for you today because we know we can use those pictures to be able to say the sentences. So your challenge is to rewrite the instructions, but making them even better so we can't have any of those silly mistakes this time. I don't expect you to get all 9 instructions done, but please do work your best and maybe spend about 15 to 20 minutes having a go at your independent writing. And then could you please take a picture of your learning and send it to myself and Mr. Clutterbuck when you hand in the assignment. Good luck with your instruction writing, and I can't wait to see the sentences you come up with. Have fun and stay safe. See you soon, Year 2. Goodbye.